So, another Moffat Christmas special. This is sure going to end well. Yeah, you know how I said last time that because of Heaven Sent, I have to keep watching Moffat episodes in case they randomly happen to be amazing? Well, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but to me, it looks like Husbands of River Song is probably going to be just as boring as the Christmas specials always are, and after Hellbent sucked as much as it did, I'm not exactly all too thrilled with the prospect of Stephen Moffat's River Song themed Christmas pantomime. I've got a question that I'm certainly not the first one to ask, but it does bear repeating. Does the Christmas special always have to be written by the showrunner? The Christmas specials have an easier time of things anyway, and have gotten away with good write-ups for incredibly shoddy scripts before, and it's guaranteed decent viewing figures anyway because everything's closed on Christmas and people have nothing better to do. So why is this not seen as a prime opportunity to take a punt on some new talent who might write the special with a bit more enthusiasm than usual? The Christmas specials have never been any good anyway, so why not take some risks with them? Instead of just getting Moffat to write his sixth one at the point in his career where he seems just as bored with the current setup as I am. It just appears that the only reason they're even still making Christmas specials at all is routine, cause it is routine by this point, and that's why I quibble with the use of the word special in the phrase Christmas special. Just nothing ever seems to change. The sky's blue, the grass is green, and the Doctor Who Christmas special is made in a hurry, and is almost certainly rubbish. But whatever, I guess. Okay, load the fish in this barrel and let's get this shit over with. Had the odd decent one-liner here and there, I guess. Not really that funny, just sort of got a raised eyebrow from me and then... It's alright, I suppose. And I suppose that it was at least an actual story, instead of an exercise in distracting your audience with vague promises that it might get good if they watched the whole thing, like Hellbent was. Fucking Christ, I'm praising Moffat for writing an actual story. If I lower my standards any further, I'm going to be giving him 5-star reviews just for using a word processor by the end of the next season. So to begin unravelling this episode, we'll start with reminding everyone that River Song still exists. Now, I'm not entirely certain here, but the fact that the first release in Big Finish's River Song audio dramas came out the same month this was broadcast probably wasn't a coincidence. The Beeb has been cozying up to Big Finish a lot lately, and if it was planned that the final River Song story would coincide with the start of her spin-off series, essentially making Husbands of River Song a bit of cross-promotion by reminding everyone, hey everybody, remember this character that was in the show several years ago? Go buy her audio spin-off. All of this is a little bit conspiratorial of me, of course, because of just how much of a bigger money spinner New Who is than Big Finish. I mean, I'm not a total fucking idiot. They're, well, not all the time. The only reason I say this is just I haven't exactly seen that many New Who fans clamouring to see her come back at any point. But the Big Finish series is a purpose for bringing River Song back for this special that I do think fair play to because of just how massively biased in Big Finish's favour I am. I do think it's a very good thing that Big Finish have been getting a lot more attention from the Beeb lately, and have been given the licence to start producing New Who audio dramas. Their scripts tend to be much higher in quality for one thing, and the company's got to ensure that it's got enough material for years to come for another, and a Christmas special that sort of vaguely ties in with what Big Finish are doing will be good for their visibility. And it may encourage newcomers to come on board and look further into their awesome back catalogue. So I think the idea of a River Christmas special at this time is generally a good thing. Thing is though, I'm not sure how much people actually like River, and I'm not sure how many people would be interested in seeing her solo adventures. There was a buzz around her at first because she basically spent the whole of Silence in the Library jabbering on about just how magnificent it's going to be when Moffat becomes the new showrunner, but people did seem to turn on her as time went by and we started to journey back through her timeline, and she kind of mutated from a someone's quirky aunt type of character into the preening cipher with a hopelessly confusing and underwhelming backstory that she was in season 6. The only real reason we were given to be interested in her at all was waiting to see where it was all going, and I don't think I was alone in just sort of scratching my head at the end of Wedding of River Song, and then again when she showed up in Angels Take Manhattan, just sort of going, is her story arc over yet? Are we actually going anywhere else with her, or is she just going to randomly show up in future episodes to do fairly unimportant general stuff? Yeah, River was always there more to be a plot device than an actual character. So I've never really known how to feel about River because our priorities regarding her have always been really mixed. They've never really tried to make me interested in her as a person, more than as an embodiment of vague promises that things are about to really kick off, which they never did, which is why so many people are so bitter about her. And while I am still bitter about the early Moffat era story arc about River, like most people are, I guess I enjoyed her more in Husbands of River Song than in seasons 6 and 7 because I've just stopped caring about any kind of story arcs that she might have been involved with, and I'm just trying to see her more as just a character. And while she still does have the odd one line here and there that grated on me, Alex Kingston herself has never really been the problem, so I guess the purpose of giving me some faith in her abilities for the Big Finish spin-off made this episode worth doing. And she does have the best line in this one.
I'm an archaeologist from the future. I dug you up.
I think that might be the best one-liner that Moffat's written in years. Really not saying much, I know, it's like being the most painless time that you rip off a plaster, but yeah, some light applause for that line at least. And as said, I do also have to give it that Husbands of River Song is an actual story. The problem is it's just not a very interesting story. Well, in my opinion. It is the typical fare of Moffat of this period, doctor plus assistant slash other character, chasing a MacGuffin, and there's a wacky comedy character alien played by a famous comedian. Not altogether terrible, just nothing we've never seen before. All I can really give it is that at least it's more competently structured than most of Moffat's recent work. Yes, it is a sack full of random disjointed ideas again, but it's a sack full of random disjointed ideas in the same way as Deep Breath. Said disjointed ideas are at least sort of half woven into a coherent narrative through line. I mean, I didn't really care about any of the characters or anything going on screen. I can't remember anyone's names, and I think I drifted off at least 3 times. But at least it has this one idea about getting this diamond out of that alien king person's head that drives the story as we run from one location to the next. It's kind of like the classic Who serial The Chase, a big dumb camp cabaret piece that pretty much just chucks stupid stuff at you for the bulk of the runtime in the vain hope that you'll be distracted enough into coming away satisfied. You got this blue guy in a tuxedo who has a few funny one-liners, this guy who pulls a bit of his head off. As said, I did snigger a couple of times, but the episode does think that it's much funnier than it actually is, and it has a strong tendency to overdo its gags. Like the bit where the Doctor gets to play the one amazed at the fact that TARDIS is bigger on the inside than on the outside for a change.
Oh, it's bigger!
Yes.
On the inside.
Look, we need to concentrate.
There it is!
Yep, I know where you're going with this.
Physical space has been transformed!
Yes, Doctor, we get it already.
Euclidean geometry has been
Yeah, we get it, Doctor. You can shut up now. This is the type of joke that Buffy would do as a one-line nod to the viewer that'd get a chuckle. It's not really something that requires a full paragraph and around a minute of runtime. Then again, it is essentially a pantomime, I suppose. It is about as over the top as you'd expect from a Christmas special, and calling it the Doctor Who Christmas Panto is fairly apt. It's even got a "he's behind you" moment. I don't particularly mind that it is essentially the Doctor Who Christmas Panto. I'm not totally against Doctor Who being stupid and daft sometimes. I'm not a totally joyless fuck, as much as it may seem like it. But I'm kind of cautious over calling this something in its favour because I really don't like this justification that people always give for the Christmas specials always being so big, dumb and chirpy. People always say this every year, but the Christmas special has to be fun and happy and smiley because 'tis the season. But am I the only one who remembers that this show built its reputation on making you hide behind the sofa? Should Doctor Who really be a televisual hug in a can? And everyone expects the Christmas special to be warm and friendly, so how's it meant to be exciting if you kind of know exactly how it's going to feel going in? I could be watching any of the Christmas specials here. It feels exactly the same as it always does. Couldn't we throw a bit of caution to the wind every once in a while with them and do something a bit creepy and weird? Last year we had the perfect concept to do that with, and it still insisted on feeling chirpy and upbeat. Again, yes, I know, it is Christmas, and I'm the kind of sadistic fucker that enjoys miserable shit like Heaven Sent that hates its character and tortures him for an hour. Just all I'm saying is, variety is nice, ain't it? While I wouldn't directly call it being a pantomime a bad thing, I just don't see anything that sets Husbands of River Song apart from any of the other Christmas specials. The Christmas specials really don't have any rewatch value because they always look and feel exactly the same, so as I said earlier, I don't really know why they're still making them. I mean, yes, it is essentially a bit of cross-promotion, so that's a reason to make this one, I guess. I mean, people are probably going to argue that River's storyline needed some degree of finality to it, so that was why they brought her back, because her story arc kind of just tapered out and we were all just left wondering if her story had ended yet, as she kept showing up and doing nothing interesting until everyone forgot about her for a couple of years. And the end of this one kind of offers some degree of finality, but it didn't really feel that final to me because I'd already kind of forgotten about River and totally lost interest. And I'd kind of assumed that her storyline was already over because we haven't seen her for a couple of years. And after all that time of River promising amazing things, now that she's at the Singing Towers where she and the Doctor spend her final night, we learnt that she was Amy's daughter, and then she was in prison for ages, and then everything else that happened sort of fell out of my head when I stood up too fast this one time. And now I suppose this means that her story's done? Satisfied? I mean, he has met her out of order this whole time, so there is still the possibility that we haven't seen her complete timeline yet, and there's still bits missing. So this isn't really total finality, it's essentially just the bit before the bit of it that we've already seen. I'm finding this to be a common problem with Moffat of late. His endings are so vague, wishy-washy and full of enigmatic lines that tease that maybe it's leading somewhere that I often can't even tell whether it's supposed to have ended or not. But he just never offers me anything that feels like closure, because he's just too keen to move on to the next thing and just leaves loose threads hanging everywhere. So when it finally comes to the Husbands of River Song's ending, after everything she was talking up, it doesn't even feel like an ending to me. Oh, the end of this one is a decent ending scene, I'll give it that. It's a bit of a dramatic tonal shift from the bulk of the runtime where everything's camp, over the top and stupid, even more so than Voyage of the Damned, and that's really saying something, to now where we're sombre and talking about River knowing that this is the last time she'll see the Doctor, and the Doctor knowing that River is going to die after this last night. Yeah, really, talk about fucking tonal whiplash here. Oh yeah, it also kind of bugged me that apparently River knows about the Singing Towers because she's heard stories that this is where she spends her final night with the Doctor. She's heard stories. And now I shall tell ye the epic tale of how the Doctor and a space archaeologist went to a restaurant next to some towers before she went off and had a better adventure in a good episode. I mean, I was interested at this moment, and I did enjoy the speech that the Doctor gives about the Singing Towers. It was just a shame that Moffat waited until minute 53 to jog me out of the waking coma that I'd spent most of the runtime in. All in all, it wasn't as obnoxious as I was expecting. Part of that may be because anything that had to follow Hellbent would have an easy time of things purely by not being Hellbent, but I can't really say that it roused anything more than a mild interest in me, and it did do almost everything I expected it to do, which is always a cardinal sin in my book.